Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 57. Ilisa Millermoon, an artist's journey, building her brand, storytelling, and networking advice. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable From the Trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another The Builders. I'm here today with a very special guest, Ilisa Millermoon.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
It's going to be an interesting conversation because she is an artist, if you can't tell by her background. She likes to do art, and we're going to dig into that today. One of the things that we do here on The Builders is talk to people. Usually when we have somebody on for the first time, we talk about kind of their background and their journey, how they ended up where they are today, becoming the person they are today and doing the things they are today. So we're going to do that and then chat a little bit about maybe the art business and stuff like that. So now to just kind of set this up a little bit too, one of the reasons I'm a little more excited than than usual is because I have a little bit of an art background myself. I'm a failed artist.
No.
No, So what back pre-internet, so this was part of my challenge. Pre-internet, all of that. From when I was about 19 years old until my mid-20s, I pursued art. And I was more self-taught. I did take some classes in college, the short time I was in college. But mostly just try to go out on my own, and I had art shows that I put together, and even try to sell some art in a mall once, and had lived the struggling artist life. I know bartended to pay the bills, but I did sell some art, did a little commission stuff, but eventually I kind of at some point for some reasons. I decided, okay, the struggling artist life, I'm going to put that behind us, and then it's a long story after that. But enough about me, though. I'm going to throw it to you. I'm very interested to hear about your journey and how you got started with art. I mean, when you were like 2 years old, you picked up your first paintbrush or something, or
close.
I'd love to hear it.
Three. It was three. My parents were missionaries in Bolivia, in South America.
Okay.
And I decided to do a mural on the wall when I was 3, and with crayons, which was not well received. I think I got a spanking for that. So yes, I've been an artist all my life, awesome. But it wasn't until I was in my right around 36 that I decided it was now or never to pursue my art career. I had been in retail and been a goldsmith. And then did jewelry sales, and I did goldsmithing for quite a while, and did jewelry sales and then management. And for a long time, I beat myself up for not pursuing my artwork until that point in my life. But I realized that my retail experience, my management experience, helped me run my own business. Because in college, I have a BA in art. They didn't require you to take marketing or basic business plan. That wasn't even an option. So I remember the professors and even my college mates saying, well, you can teach or good luck with that.
Yeah.
So those were my options. I'm like, And that was not the route that I wanted to pursue. I wasn't interested in, being a part of the public school system or the school system in general.
But really, it was really that way. Because I didn't get that far. Like I said, I took like maybe a couple classes of art in college, and then I dropped out of college. So I didn't get that far. But they never had any marketing or business like
They did
classes,
not.
like
Not,
what this?
not where I went. It was not a part of the program.
That
It was
seems
very,
that seems kind of important. Yeah.
just a tiny bit. Yes, just
Yeah.
a tiny bit. So I know I gathered a lot of the information. A lot of my foundation is from, being in management and being a goldsmith and retail. And so I transferred that over and used that as a plus instead of beating myself up for starting so late
Yeah.
in something that I love. Yeah.
So let's say there's somebody out there that's listening to this. There, hopefully, some artists will, or aspiring artists will listen to this, or somebody that's been, doing art for a while, and they're thinking about selling stuff. I mean, it's this way for a lot of different crafts, even like web design development and stuff. People that are freelancing or they've worked for somebody else, but making that leap to working for yourself. That's a whole thing. Like running a business, marketing yourself. What do you recommend for people that maybe don't have that background? I mean, you go work for somebody. Do you go to the library? Do libraries exist anymore?
Yeah, do it exist anymore? I don't know. I think the first step is, well, first of all, it's not for the faint of heart. Any solopreneur business, any business.
Yeah.
Both my love Muffin and I are work from home and have run our own businesses, and so it's always an ebb and flow. So that's the first thing that you have to realize with any business. It's going to go up and down. So be a squirrel, store some nuts. And the other thing is that I think the biggest nugget that I can share is because I had 2 or 3 jobs for many years. It's only been in the last 8 years that I've been doing my artwork full time. And what I've discovered is, and I think this is with any solopreneur, is you have to build relationships. The people who purchase artwork from me, who collect my artwork, I have developed a relationship with. I know about their families, I know about their kids, and we connect. And so that's the key. And that was the key when I worked in jewelry. I would call people on their anniversary and wish them a happy anniversary and say, hey, there's something in here you may like as a gift. So it's that building and nurturing relationships. And that's my golden nugget of wisdom to share.
Networking has become more and more a theme on this show too. Talking to people about networking and just talking to people and stuff. But it's the same way with like even using my web design agency or life as an example. One of the things I always thought about as especially when I was first getting started, when I was just doing freelancing, was to talk to people and let the world know that this is what I'm doing. I think that's one of the biggest things. Just shout it at the rooftops and bring it up at every opportunity. Don't drive people too crazy, but like, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Because eventually you're going to, connect with somebody that resonates with, or they need something, or they inquire more, or they need something for their walls in your case, or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, I find it so intriguing because it's the same premise. I mean, tell people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
Yeah.
I do it, same thing, everywhere I'm at. I have my cards with me all the time, but again, it's about building relationships. So the gal at the grocery store, the cashier that I talk to all the time, Leslie, I'm building relationships just on a daily basis. And now she may never buy a piece of artwork from me, but she may say something, to somebody else.
Yeah. Well, it's not always the person you're talking to, it's their network. Somebody in their network, they'll, hear somebody needs something and like, I know Ilisa.
Exactly.
So where does that transition happen? So you're working for these companies, doing goldsmithing, whatever you were doing there, and all that stuff. And you're obviously over those years probably doing art on the side as maybe
Always.
more of a hobby, or maybe you were selling something here or there. But where does that like you can, from a physical perspective, like when I think about when I'm going to start a new business, and I've done this a few times over my life. I want to start a new business. One of the first things I think about is, number one, getting a website, But even when it was like offline businesses, it was like, oh, get a business card. How do you make it official? Like, is that an important piece of like becoming independent and doing your thing?
A website?
Remember that transition? Yeah, like
Yes. Well, I've had a website to me is very much like a business card. So it has to be crisp, clean, and easy to maneuver, as you well know. And so having one is fantastical. I'm amazed at how many artists and business owners in general have one, but they don't direct anybody to it. So if you don't direct anybody to it, how are you going to get any kind of visibility? So it's still about building relationships and making connections with people that are aligned with your soul and spirit.
Yeah, well, I think, so one of my first websites, I was an insurance guy a couple decades ago. So one of my first website online was actually an insurance website that I built for myself. And the reason I built it is because I had already got leads and all this stuff. And I had business, but I learned that websites were a thing, and it might look good on my business card. So that's one of the things too, is that you can have that URL on your business card. And when you hand those out, if somebody wants to know more about you, they just go to your website or contact you through there. And people nowadays, just a natural thing. Everyone has a website, hopefully. If you don't, call us. Yeah. No. But yeah, so, but I guess when I think about, and we've had guests on here too, we've talked about that transition. Was that transition difficult for you? Was it something you slowly ramped up on the side until you were you selling stuff before you left your job, or did you just say,
yes,
I'm just going to go?
It was parallel with working 2 or 3 jobs. So I would do art festivals. I would, anywhere that I could display my artwork. And I stopped doing that just because people would take advantage of it. So you learn how to set boundaries. If you want to rent my artwork for your building, fine. Yes, I was constantly creating and selling while working full time. So you want to build a foundation of, again, clients, collectors who are, soul aligned, and that you can build a relationship with and nurture that, because they're going to also help you with sales as well. So, but yes, it's parallel. So I was working the one full-time job and then 2 part-time jobs, and then doing my artwork as well. Artwork has always been a healing tool for me in my entire journey. So I cannot not create. It would mean that I'm not existing anymore. So it's always going to happen, whether it's making me millions or not making me millions. Regardless, I'm going to create.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, that's how that's how I like to think of myself. I always thought about like Picasso was I was more abstract art, and I kind of settled on I was an expressionist, doing expressionism. But anyway, but one of my idols back in the day was Picasso, and one of the things he has this quote out there said, something about his mom or something. It's like, you grow up, become an artist. Something about growing up, becoming an artist, but he grew up and became Picasso. Like it was, and I always read that as like, he wasn't an artist, he was Picasso. He was a art. Like, that's what I'm hearing from you. Like, this is who you are.
Exactly. Our whole house and our home and our yard is our sanctuary. I have yard art everywhere because it's our happy place.
Yeah.
So I have a 7-foot goddess sculpture I created out in the front yard. I've got Absalom from Alice in Wonderland sculpture in the front yard, as well as the Mary Lloyd guest house for magical beings. So our whole home is a creative nest of sorts. And we wouldn't want it any other way, because my love muffin partner in crime is an architect, and so he's a master builder aside from being an architect. So I'll come up with an idea sometimes, and he'll build it, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
But creativity is just a part of our life, and I can't imagine it any other way.
That stuff. I mean, for you, it's. I wouldn't say it's easy. It's probably, no one's got it easy. But I mean, you got an easy into, you know who you are, you know your identity and what you're all about. Some people are still like, I think for me, that was part of my problem. I lost my identity at some point, but that's great. And it's like, but I think the way to succeed is, knowing who you are, finding that thing that you're passionate about, that you're good at, hopefully too. And that you just think about day in and day out. You wake up in the morning, this is who you are. And
Well, it's also about adding value. I mean, my theme is, I create artwork to transform your living space, raise your vibration, and heal your spirit. So it's about adding value. And that's what we all do. When, show up, add value, and how can you be of service? And so my artwork for me is a tool for healing and a way to transform your living space. And you talked about finding yourself. That's a journey in and of itself. I'm 52 and I finally feel comfortable in my own skin. So it wasn't always that way. I didn't always know how to talk about my artwork, or how to write about it. That's been a journey. And once I just let go of trying to be what I thought I was supposed to be as an artist, as a woman, and just be me, that was so freeing. And it shifted everything, because this is it, And I know, also as an artist, you develop a thick skin. You're not going to resonate with everyone. Not everybody's going to like your artwork, and that's okay. There's plenty for all of us. So that alone has been a journey.
Finding your authentic self.
Yeah, and I really feel like the first half of your life, or at least the first third, you're bombarded with all these things that you've learned or been inundated with growing up, and then in the second half, you're like, oh, I've got a lot of shit to unlearn, so I need to let this go, and that has been delightful. I'm having a ball with that, just being me. Yeah. And that's when you are comfortable in your own skin, and when you are authentic, then your people are going to show up because they're drawn to you. And that's what's been happening, and it's so much fun. I'm having a ball. Yeah.
That's one of the, well, first of all, I can really, so I did kind of find myself, like I feel very comfortable in my skin now because I figured out how to marry I think my brain's complicated in that it's got that artistic side, but it's also got this technical side. I like to build things, and that's the builders. And so I kind of found a good marriage of things. I like business too, and I like doing all that stuff. So finding that. But one of the other things too, I wanted to kind of circle back to the networking stuff, because one of the things that I think that really, so when you in hindsight, so I've had numerous businesses over my life. Including that art business, and I think about that, especially recently. I was thinking a lot about where I went wrong. Like here I have this huge passion for art. I was stretching my own canvas and building these great. I love building large pieces, and I did over 100 large pieces at least over those years, plus all the other small stuff I did, and experimenting and all that. So I was doing a lot of art. And I did get out there a little bit, got the word out and stuff. But I think one of the things that I was weakest at was the networking aspect. And it's one of the things I think that I missed out on not pursuing it in college as much. Because I think college, correct me if I'm wrong, helps you create connections as well. Maybe that's, even though you're not taught business and marketing, did that help?
It didn't for me.
It didn't for you.
It
okay.
Did for me. I went to a small Mennonite college, so it did not for me. But and I didn't learn those networking, nurturing relationship skills until later, and and that was hindsight. And I think there's so many misconceptions about artists, because I too am very logical. I'm a walking conundrum. I'm very logical. I'm very structured. I love my routine. I sometimes have to nudge myself to be spontaneous, which just cracks me up. So I think there's many misconceptions and stereotypes about artists. And if I'm obviously not starving. I got a Buddha belly. I'm not going to show it off here. But the whole starving artist mantra, and we need to release that. We need to let that go and know that there's abundance for all of us. And I think what you mentioned about meshing your creativity and your logical side and your business side, that's what we all need to do. We're multifaceted beings. We're amazing creatures. And we have so many things to offer. Like, along with, you're never just one thing in any career path. I mean, you are very multifaceted, even within your web design business.
Yeah, well, I think we're all unique then, right? Mm-hmm. We all kind of, and the only way to I don't know that there's a smooth path to figuring that out. I think it's kind of like experimenting and trying things and failing and learning from those failures and try and just keep trying. But you have that core thing you do. You have your art or whatever it is you do, but you got to still, kind of work through exactly where that's going to fall into place for you in terms of how you're selling stuff.
Well, for me, it's, I no longer see anything as a failure. I either win or I learn every time. Because then that way, it does, that eliminates any negative connotation to, that's how you learn, is when, oh shit, that didn't work. Yeah. I mean, even in the process of my painting, my medium is acrylic ink and gouache on watercolor paper. Well, I had to let go of, oh my God, I'm going to throw away $50 worth of watercolor paper because this didn't make the cut. That's okay. That's part of the process. And I think so often we are afraid of the process before it even begins, and we just need to embrace it. And I think that's within any business. There's processes and foundations that you need to develop and learn and figure out to become fantastical in whichever venue you're choosing, whether it be art, web design, coaching, whatever business that you're in. I think that's really
art is it's a unique thing. Like, so I did all the paintings and stuff, and but it's one of those things. Yeah, some art is going to just you're going to love something, and nobody else, like, that's the one they ignore. Like if you have a show or something, it's interesting to see what people gravitate to.
Yes, and very interesting.
It's like, oh, that
I have a story
one.
about that.
So, go ahead.
My mom-in-law is an artist. She is now, since she no longer can see, so she doesn't create as much as she used to, but her last art show she did, she was so disgusted. She does some beautiful illustrations. Okay. And she did an art show, and the lady beside her had styrofoam balls glued together, and they called it snowman poop. And that was it. She said, I'm done. I'm never doing a festival again. They're selling snowman poop. So it is a very intriguing journey. You have to, where does your work fit in? Where does it make sense? And that's why it's so important to build connections with other people who get you and see what you're doing and love it and want to tell other people about it.
You can't be afraid to.
And you can avoid snowman poop. Yeah. Because I know that's very disheartening when you are a talented artist and you have somebody selling something that's just hokey, and that's okay. It's a creative in some manner, but I think that can be very disheartening. So that's why you've got to find your people.
Right. That doesn't mean what you're doing is not good. It just means you're not with your tribe. You have to find the people that are interested in your thing. So and that's kind of back to let's talk about your style for a second. So you said, what do you consider your style? It's more.
It's probably more abstract. I can do very detailed work. I don't often. Yeah. I've really enjoyed, one of the things that I've discovered is I do a lot of healing activations within the artwork. So before I jump into my studio, I will do a saging ceremony to release any negative energy, and then I invite my celestial team in to create with me and through me. And I often don't have any preconceived notion of what it is I'm going to create. So it's a collaboration between my celestial team and myself. And that, I know you know this one. That's when time flies and you don't, 6 hours later and you're like, oh my goodness, okay.
Yeah.
So it's probably more abstract, very free flowing. It's one of the things I have loved about acrylic ink and gouache is instead of trying to control it, I learned what it does, and then we do a dance together, and it's just so much fun.
Love that. I always stayed away from like watercolors and stuff because I didn't feel like I had enough control, or I don't know if it just didn't work for me. Like,
letting go, releasing that notion of having to control it, because like this is spray, this is acrylic ink, and then a spray bottle, and maneuvering the ink on the paper. And then the other thing I love about the acrylic ink is just like us, we are layers, we're onions, so I can layer the gouache on top of it, and that acrylic ink is mostly waterproof, so it doesn't change, but it allows me to layer. So, if I'm doing magenta underneath and I put a yellow gouache on top, that's going to make it an orange, so it just appears different with the layers, and that to me is just so much fun. So there's a lot of painting, drawing, and going back through it again. So I'll do like 6 or 7 paintings at one time.
That's fun.
Yes, fun. It is delightful.
I love like for me, I would so I would spend the time stretching my own canvas, whatever size I wanted for that one. And a lot of times I would be the same way. Because I was more abstract too. But I was full of ideas. Mine had to have some kind of meaning. I probably would look at my art, some of my old art, and probably would like, what was I thinking? But I love sitting down and just start with some colors, random colors, and just start going and not know where it's going to go and just kind of go with the flow. And
I think that's your connection with creator.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that energy flow,
emptying the mind.
Yes, it's very therapeutic. I love it. It has absolutely been a tool for healing in my life.
One of the reasons I was excited to talk to you again, because you're inspiring me.
I
want to go out and get some.
I don't care. It's so funny because people will get balled up. I'm not an artist. I'm not creative. I'm like, just do it. Whatever. If it makes your soul sing, I don't care if you are making snowman poop. Have at it. And if you've been to art school, if you've lived through a critique where you want to cry at the end of it, I never wanted to be that person with other people who want to explore being creative. So I'm not gonna ever, unless somebody asks me, I will then critique something, but I'll never do that because I don't think that's why why we have art. We have art because it makes our soul sing. I mean, I think that's so important. Yeah. So I can't wait to see what you're going to create next. I'm feeling it.
Well, a couple of years ago about 3 years ago when I started Unified Web Design, the agency, I had, for that first year, I wasn't sure, kind of like feeling things out. And I actually dabbled in doing digital art for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then my agency took off and I did it less and less. And so I don't do much now either. So I've done some creative stuff in recent years on my iPad. I'm always thinking of things that I could do, and I need to do. You have that once it's in you. You kind of have that desire to express yourself. I do that through web design, and I do design work and stuff. But
there's lots of different ways to be creative, and I think when you begin painting again, because I see you painting again. I know you don't think you are. I see you painting again.
It would be difficult. One of the things I
would recommend is just put an hour on 2 hours on your calendar and block it off just for you to be creative. I don't care what business you're in, we all have we're human, and humans crave creativity. That's part of us being amazing beings, and that's how we've evolved over millions of years. So I think I think it will enhance your web business, and I would say that to anybody else that wanted to create more.
Yeah, well, truth be told, when I made the conscious decision to move away from art and do other things, I always saw my journey somehow reconnecting with it down the road. Like go make my fortune and then, or retire someday. And, so I'll be like 80 years old, probably have a nice little studio. I got so much I want to get into here.
Okay.
I'm gonna. We're like at 30 minutes already. I'm like not watching the clock. I want to kind of manage the time a little bit. So there's a couple things that I'm really intrigued with.
Okay.
Well, number one, we're going to get into how you're selling stuff and what you're doing today. Definitely want to end with that. But one of the things you talked about was kind of how you developed kind of your brand, can't talk. Your brand, your story, how that developed. Was it something natural or something you sat down and, because when you sell something, having a brand story or however what your art, the meaning behind your art, you're doing something more than just putting some colors down on paper, whatever you're doing, some paint down on the canvas. You're giving it more meaning, and you have some kind of way to express how it's going to change somebody's life, like it's going to impact somebody in some way. It's going to do something for their space or their mentally, physically, whatever. Is that something you consciously did, like to help people connect with your art more and maybe want to buy more of your art and all that stuff? Or is that something that just kind of always was there because you've been doing this since 3 years
Well,
old?
it's very intriguing. First of all, I was terrified of writing and talking about my story. I didn't know how to do that. So that alone was a journey. And basically, and I remember this is so distinctly, this was about 10 years ago, when I began to completely trust my intuition and my connection with my celestial team, so my angels, dragon guides, creator. So because I would get messages all the time, and I still do. And so when I decided, okay, I'm just going to roll with that and allow that to navigate how I present my artwork, which is, it is a tool for healing. So oftentimes when somebody wants a commissioned piece of intuitive energy artwork, they will connect with me and they'll say, okay, here's my intention. I really want love in my life. I want to find my soulmate. And of course you have several, but so I will create a painting that, if you display it in a spot that you're going to see it every day, it's going to reinforce what it is you want to manifest, because I also include activations, healing activations within the painting. So if you're wanting love in your life and you have a painting that you look at every day and you on your end are working on manifesting that, that's where I come in to help. And so that was very hard to talk about. I mean, most people would just glaze over and they're like, okay, I don't know. Now, but I found my people when I began talking about it, because they were like, oh, okay, that's what I've been looking for. Yeah. And that took me a long time to get comfortable talking about, because, the nail that sticks out gets hit the most. And I've always been that. I've always been the nail that sticks out. And I've learned to embrace that and know that's okay. That's okay.
You can leverage that to your benefit. I mean, yeah, it's hard. You're probably getting a lot of people saying whatever, about.
They just don't get it, and that's okay.
They don't get it, right? But exactly. Well, exactly, and that's what we're really the kind of the message here throughout is, be your authentic self, be who you are, believe in who you are, believe in what you're doing. And weave that into your products. What you do is this entire this whole story about you that ties into your art and how that is, and everything you believe and how you feel. All that goes through your art, and that attracts those people. I was thinking as you were talking about kind of how you're doing all that and kind of spiritually and all that, and how that all ties in. I had. This is a little aside. I had this client a couple years ago who he was making his own clothing, And a part of it wasn't just clothing. It had this kind of spiritual aspect to the clothing, where there was literally things weaved into the clothing and like hidden words and stuff that would have, and he had this whole story around how this was going to have a positive impact, this positive energy that you can bring into your life. It was all part of, it was just clothing if you just looked at it, but when you read his website and you read all about, like, that was the biggest thing, because I was designing his site and helping him with this. And but with all, so the website had to communicate, not just as just a piece of, a shirt, but what was behind that shirt visually and through video and all this other stuff. So that's like the same thing you're kind of doing with your art. It's that it's not just a piece of art. It's so much more than that.
Well,
and that makes
the
a big
other
difference.
nugget of wisdom that I can share is that what I didn't realize when I started my art business is that as human beings, we are deeply connected to each other through our storytelling. And so one of my favorite series that I created was Dragon Magic series. And what began happening in 2018, beginning of 2019, I started having dragons come to me in my meditations, in my dreams, asking me to create their portrait and then talk about their healing gifts and why they want to connect with humanity. And so I have over 30 dragon portraits, paintings that all have healing gifts, and will tell you, like, Desmond is one of my favorite dragons. He's a protector. So anytime I'm out and about, I will call on Desmond to be with me if I'm feeling uncomfortable or not fearful of somebody or something in the area. So I didn't realize the impact of connecting the story with the artwork, and probably until about 10 years ago. And then I had to get comfortable with just writing. And when I started writing like I speak, just write like I'm talking to a friend over, having a glass of wine or a spot of tea, it changed everything. Because it's that storytelling that connects us as human beings.
Yeah, that's what you talk about. You talk about any kind of business. It doesn't have to be art. It could be any kind of business that you're in. The story is a super important part of that. Super important part of the brand. And the brand story. That's what sets. You can have somebody that's selling the exact same thing, the exact same product. But if their company, their business, their website tells a story in a better way that connects with more people or specific people. Also, in any business, like even my agency, one of the things I had to really work on was figuring out our vertical, figuring out our niche, who we were speaking to. And it's the same way with the art. You're not going to sell your art to everybody. You got to figure out what your message is and speak to those people. Then everything you do speaks to those people. That's amazing. Okay. You got anything to say?
Oh, no, I'm waiting for you.
You're good? Okay. Like I said, I got like all these notes. I could go into all this stuff.
Awesome. We'll just roll through it.
So one of the things so you got the brand, you got this awesome story. You built yourself a website. You kind of made this transition. You made the leap finally. You must have been doing well enough. You're like, I'm good. I'm going to now go out on my own. Now you, having talked to you in a previous conversation, you do two things. You sell original art on your website, but you also sell on Etsy, right?
Yeah. Etsy's where like the note cards and giclée prints are.
Okay, so that's kind of all right. So you have a couple different avenues. Is there a reason you did both, or is that just you like doing both?
Well, so on my website, just my name, Ilisa Millermoon, you have intuitive artwork, and that's the original painting. So those are going to be a higher price point because they're original. And then if you go to the Etsy shop, that's where the note cards are, or the giclée prints. So a little bit different price point to meet more, because not everybody's going to be able to do a $2,800 painting, and I get that. So that's why I offer the giclée prints as well. And then I also do healing sessions. I do intuitive energy art healing session. It's called Ignite Your Spirit. And then I do intuitive energy readings and some Arcturian light healing sessions. And that's been very intriguing, trying to mesh that. How does that combine it? Well, what I didn't realize is it's all interwoven, because that's who I am.
Yeah.
So each of those
Makes
items
sense.
are interwoven into that.
Yeah. So how has your experience been with both those avenues? Like with Etsy, was it easy to get started with that? And how did you did you
Etsy's
leverage
very
the following you already had, or did you have to build traffic in different ways, or what did you do to market yourself?
I actually sell more originals than I do prints. So my Etsy shop is just, if somebody wants a little bit lower price point item, but still wants original artwork and wants to support me, and that's been great. I actually do more commission work, and as well as selling the originals on my website. But again, it's always with people I know. I think I've only sold 2 paintings to people I did not know at all, like just ordered out of the blue. So over the last 10 years, which I find very intriguing.
Yeah. But yeah, most of the stuff I sold was people I knew.
Yes.
A lot of them through my bartending, because they came to my bar, and then they went to my art show. Yeah. Okay. So from a marketing perspective, have you worried about your traffic, SEO, or the content on your website, like to optimize it to get more traffic and get more people, or do you just go with your natural ability to go out there and connect with people? And
I have focused on that occasionally, and I just giggle because every time I always go back to nurturing and building relationships, because the search engine optimization, okay, whatever. I know that's your niche, but every morning, every morning I just ask my celestial team, connect me with my tribe, connect me with whom my soul aligned people every morning in my little prayer. So I set the intention and for that, and I got to tell you, every day I do that, I connect with somebody new. And so yes, I do Alignable, and I was doing Blitzer for a little bit, and that's been good. I really like Alignable.
That's how we met on Alignable.
I like Alignable because I get more connections like this, and this is way more valuable than being on a social media site and not getting any return, or very little.
You don't do any social media at all, otherwise?
I left all of it.
So lucky.
I'm in the midst of letting go of YouTube, so I'm transferring all my videos over to Vimeo. I let go of Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and I'm just gonna connect. I've been connecting with my people via Alignable, and then just my tribe that I've already established.
Yeah, well, I mean, you already have an established list of people that do you have a structured way you communicate with those? Do you have like a newsletter?
I do it. Yep, I do a weekly email called Your Morsels of Motivation, which is all about. It's not all about art. It's about life. How to live. A soulful life that makes you happy.
That's awesome. I mean, because if you go online, it's like, well, how do you market yourself? And everyone's talking about SEO and social media and advertising. And I appreciate all those things. In fact, I work with agencies that do those things. So people do need those things, and it works for a lot of people, but not everybody in every situation. For me, even my agency, though. Now, of course, as a web designer, I have to know SEO on page at least, right?
Yes.
I know how to structure a site, all that stuff. For others, for us, it's like a year ago we thought about doing more SEO, and it just you have to find your lane. You have to figure out what's working for you, and then triple down on that. And that for us, we're doing social media because we do a lot of content stuff. But networking's been a big thing for us this year. It's something that I've always done, but I never really thought about it as in a specific activity, like just something that organically just did. But now I'm trying to, like, the reason why we're together is today because we were on a quick connect networking call, and we just happened to randomly connect, and but doing more of that kind of stuff, and it's a great way to meet people, and you don't. And as you learn about networking, it's not about selling. It's about just connecting with people and finding those people you resonate with.
Well, and when I first moved to this area, I did every networking event I could, and honestly, it was fruitless because number one, this was hilarious to me. So I go to these networking events, and I would. I remember this one CPA, and I got his card, and I said, "So tell me, who's your favorite kind of client? Who do you want me to refer to you?" Well, he couldn't tell me. I'm like, "Well, if you don't know, I don't know." So I'm like, okay. So the whole notion was just handing out your card and hoping. It was like throwing whatever on the wall and seeing what stuck, and that does not work. So that old school networking never worked to begin with. And so I feel like doing Alignable, and I don't even feel like what we're doing is networking. We're building relationships. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's SEO doesn't even matter. So because I don't think it was random that we met. I think our celestial teams connected us, and I don't believe in coincidences. The universe isn't that lazy.
Yeah, no, and again, like SEO is important. Like I have clients that they depend 100%. They make a lot of money from SEO, but it's not for everybody. Not every business, every model needs to incorporate that, and it is a long term. That's a whole thing. So you got to figure out your thing. Yeah, but and it also comes down to what you're comfortable doing. I think networking doesn't. We were on the last call we were on. I don't know if you were were you on the one this week?
No, we had a water heater went out.
Oh.
It was minor flood.
Oops. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, you had a good excuse then.
Yes.
No, you had like 160 people on this one.
It's awesome.
And but there was he called somebody out where they're more of an introvert, and they were a little bit shy about doing this type of thing. But she's been doing this. I don't remember her name or anything. But it was something where it really got her comfortable with it, and she just did it, and now she's happy she's done it. She's made some great relationships and stuff. It's hard to get started, but finding little events like that and just doing something, it can be really
well, and
beneficial.
I think too is everything I've ever attempted to do or thought about doing, I've been absolutely terrified of doing it, but I've done it anyway because I know that I need to just step out of my comfort zone. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, are you going to do interviews like this? I've been like, what? Really?
Yeah.
And, for a good 6 years, I had a very, a women's group on Facebook, and I was very involved in that. And again, I did Facebook Lives all the time. So if you would have asked me, would you do that? And I would have said, no, you're crazy. So anything that, everything you want is on the other side of fear, and just move through it. I'd much rather be a wallflower. I'd much rather be over here and observing. I'm an observer. I love to watch people and observe behavior and how people maneuver. So I don't enjoy large groups. That's why I love the one-on-one with the quick connect, because you get to talk to people one-on-one, and I love that. And you talked about marketing. Yeah. I had done a marketing campaign several years ago on Facebook, and for me it was a nice chunk of change. I think I spent $2,000. And I got one sale out of that from somebody I didn't know. So again, that just reinforced in me that it's all about building relationships. So don't even worry about the other. Because I've spent my fair share of marketing dollars over the years, and it was okay.
It has its place. Like if I don't say that I'm never going to advertise or anything. I kind of made a decision a year ago. Like I'm gonna just try to organically build this, and it's been working out great. But I see myself if I do any advertising to be more strategic for a specific project, for a specific outcome and stuff. But
Well,
Awesome.
and I'm not trying to
Great
be
com-
like I'm not trying to be Coca-Cola. I'm not trying to reach
right.
everybody. You know,
Right.
I'm trying just to reach my people.
Yeah, I mean that's right, exactly. Got to know what your goals are. If there are people out there who want to build a gigantic company,
Hmm.
be the CEO of some gigantic corporation, or you don't maybe not in art so much, but like for me, my goal is I know what my vision is to be more of a boutique
Hmm.
agency that serves a smaller set of clients, and just an outstanding job for those. Um, but I don't, so that doesn't require me to figure out how to have a big advertising budget and do all this stuff and become this
Hmm.
huge brand. It could accidentally happen someday. That next viral podcast episode like this
There you
happened or
go.
something. Um, but, but yeah, no, I mean, that's great. This has been a great conversation. I think there's a lot of great takeaways from, finding yourself, finding your authentic self, and finding your tribe, and the whole networking aspect. How that's, I mean, that's kind of how you've built everything. Even, um, like I don't think at the end of the day, I don't think there's any secret here. I think it's finding your kind of your craft, figuring out, who you are, what your style is, and all that stuff. If you're an artist, I absolutely found my style back in the day, but for other reasons, I derailed. Um, but,
That was a part of
but
your journey. That was part of your
yeah,
journey. That was meant to happen.
well, and I've told this a number of times to numerous people over the last couple of years. I had a good friend years ago that, and this was related to web development. I was a web developer, and at the time, I didn't do much design at the time, but I loved it. I loved what I was doing, and I said, I wish I would have started. I said this to my friend. I said, I wish I would have started doing this, decades ago. And he stopped me. I think we were on a phone call. He stopped me. He's like, no. He said, all that stuff you did, all those other businesses, all those failures or wins or whatever, all those things you learned along the way
Hmm.
made you unique in who you are today.
Exactly.
Like nobody can compete with who you are right now because you have such a diverse background, and so you got to look at your life like that. You may have, who knows where you are to, where you were 10, 20 years ago and what you were doing and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. It's where you are today, and taking all of that and figuring out how to make that a benefit today.
And I think the other thing that you need to decide, and this is for not just artists, but any solopreneur, what is your definition of success? Because my definition of success is not what the mainstream definition. According to mainstream, I'm sure I'm not successful, and that's okay. I don't care. I've had to decide what does success look like for me,
But
and
success
that's
isn't
different for all of us.
necessarily about, yeah, it's not about money so much as about happiness. Just if you're happy, you're
Exactly.
where you need
I
to
mean,
be. Yeah.
I'm living the life that I've envisioned for a long time. So I'm finally living the life that I've wanted to design, and
Yeah.
so deciding what success means to you and looks like to you is important because.
And that can be tough, right? I mean, like, so I'm living my life too. Like,
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine working in an office somewhere in downtown, or what. Like, I had to give up things to be where I am now, working, my own schedule, and where I want to and how I want to work and all that stuff. But through that, I mean, it's not easy in the beginning. It takes maybe a little bit more work and effort. But you got to stick to your guns. Have your vision. This is what
Yeah,
I want to be.
and
This is how I
yeah,
see
and
myself, and
decide
keep working towards it.
what success looks like for you because it really is different for everybody. And I love,
Okay,
I
let's
love.
leave.
Oh, go ahead.
No, no,
I was
no.
just gonna
Finish
say,
your
I
thought.
love that I haven't, I don't wake up to an alarm. I wake up when the sun comes up. I can take my pup on a Sparkle Quest walk at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I love my life. I can arrange my schedule however I like, and I'm doing what I love. So
Yeah, yeah, love it. Okay,
awesome.
so if somebody wanted to find you, where do they find you? What's your website?
My website is just my name, Ilisa, Ilisa Millermoon, MILLERMOON.com.
Awesome. And you're not on social media. You're on Alignable though. So seriously, anybody on this podcast, I just joined Alignable at the beginning of this year. And this is not one of our sponsors or anything. It's just something I started doing because I had a couple new friends that invited me on there and said, this Alignable's awesome. And then Al Wagner, who runs that Quick Connect, he was actually on my podcast, so you can find him if you search our guest list. And we talked about networking too. And he's like, you should, do this. And I did. And look where it led us.
I know,
right? Awesome conversation today.
It's awesome.
All right. Well, until next time, maybe we'll have you back again someday and to talk more. And maybe you got a podcast too. So
yes, we can get you set up to share your magic.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. I'll share some.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate you sharing your time.
Have a good day. All right. Bye-bye. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this podcast or provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, Unified Web Design. That's my agency. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you're interested in our services or looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.